So if I could have like one take-home message that hopefully resonates, for this podcast and every podcast that we do, is take action quickly and soon. Don't wait. The common mistake people make is they just wait too long. Now we can get into some of the details about the different forms of lung cancer and stuff later on, but it's a very serious type of cancer because if you were to look at it as by itself, lung cancer is probably the number one cause of cancer-related deaths for all people. So I'm asked all the time by patients, what's the difference between personalized medicine and traditional medicine? And in traditional medicine, there's a singular approach. So you have cancer A, and for cancer A, here is the standard of care treatment. And after you go through the standard of care treatment and it doesn't work, typically there's not a plan B. There's not another option. So then patients are told, hey, there's nothing else that can be done. And so then they're convinced that, hey, there's no hope and we can't do anything else. Now I want to contrast that in a personalized approach that we have at Cosenta. We're going to measure all kinds of details within your body. And we're going to find lots of areas that we can actually improve your health. And then indirectly, by improving those areas, we're going to help you do a better job at fighting cancer. So where someone else would say, hey, there's nothing that could be done, we're going to say, hey, there's lots of opportunity here to improve your health and make sure that you have a better quality of life so that you're able to function and live life under your own terms and not just waste away in a bed in hospice somewhere and watch everything go by you as time passes on. So if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer and you're looking to get help, I strongly encourage you to go to Cosenta.com and fill out the form at the bottom of the page and find out for yourself how we can help you.
Wave to everyone, Dr. Tom. The Facebook is watching. They're like, wow, look at Dr. Tom. Dr. Tom stole Dr. Oz's studios. This is awesome. Welcome to a live studio taping. If you're watching on Facebook or any of the social media platforms that we broadcast the live taping to, this is Ask Dr. Tom, and you're looking at Dr. Thomas Incledon. So what we do in this taping is we record some podcasts and we let you eavesdrop on the Ask Dr. Tom segments so you can listen in while we record the podcast, which you can get on demand or subscribe to at AskDrTom.com. That's AskDrTom.com. And to access any of the podcasts or submit your questions to Dr. Tom, you can just text the word health to 72000. That's the word health to 72000 if you're in the United States or Canada, or for international listeners and viewers, you can text the word health to +1 315-930-0300, and Jim will put those numbers in the comments below. Without further ado, let's dive into the show. This is Ask Dr. Tom. Dr. Tom is Thomas Incledon. He's the founder and CEO of Cosenta Wellness and the Cosenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona, from working with NFL, MLB, MMA, world-class athletes, and even the White House. Dr. Tom's reputation of personalized medicine and cutting-edge technologies have put him on the map for caring for some of the most powerful people in the world, making him one of the most sought-after healthcare professionals of our time. And he's with us live from Arizona. Hello, and good day to you, sir.
Hey, Matt. Good morning.
How you feeling? What's happening over there? You look healthy and good, and I mean, you always do, but I think the lighting there also really is complementary to everything you got going on.
Oh, that's good to know, because normally when we record from my dark cave-like office, it looks like I'm going downhill fast. So it's nice to know I look a little healthy.
You look awesome. We can also see more of you, and one of the things that I don't think people that know you as well as some of us have gotten to know you may now realize is you are formidable. You're a power lifter and I was going to say former strongman, but I don't think there's any former about it, and we're seeing it now in this view. Can you just share with people that don't really know and have not gotten past the doctor stuff and the Cosenta stuff and the fact that you're a scientist and an author, what you do physically and what you've competed in over the years that's really sort of set you apart from just anybody else in a lab coat?
Sure. So I came from an exercise background. So I was in an exercise physiology laboratory. And when I was there, we did all kinds of studies on strength training and people. And then I got really into lifting weights. So I started competing, and I was pretty strong enough to be successful at a state level, a national level, and then compete at a world championship level. And I met lots of really cool people, and they got me into doing Olympic lifting and powerlifting and strongman lifting. And I had lots of fun doing that, and I got crazy strong, I guess you might say. There's videos of me deadlifting trucks and lifting giant stones. Once in a while people say, yeah, I saw you pulling a tractor trailer or an airplane or some other large device. And so a lot of times people go, what the heck is this like muscle-bound geek gonna do to help me with my cancer or my other health issues? And the reality is that exercise is a very useful tool to help people fight any disease, but it's got to be used correctly. Our patients all get dramatically stronger. They add muscle, they lose body fat, they could get rid of wheelchairs and walkers. Now, we don't have them competing in strongman competitions, but we do have them realizing that if you get stronger, you could handle the stress of the disease much better. And now they're better capable of handling some treatments or some other strategies to actually kill cancer and make it through. Like they could come through on the other side and they look great. They don't have hair loss and they don't have a lot of the symptoms that sometimes people report they experience when they do standard of care type treatments.
Well, I'm glad that we have you today, and I'm glad that you're watching this so wherever you are on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever in the world you are. And I'd like to encourage you to share this video with someone in your family today. Whether they have cancer, whether they've been diagnosed with any disease, whether they think they're healthy or not healthy, everybody should at least become aware of Dr. Tom and what he's talking about and some of the things we're going to discuss. And here's why. This, and we're going to dive into this news headline a little bit more in detail a little bit later on, but this really jumped out at me. And even if you don't know something's wrong with you, you could have something going on. And here's an example. There's a newlywed. This story came from the Daily Mail. A newlywed couple went and got married, and just 4 days into the honeymoon, the husband passed away, and he died of lung cancer. Didn't have any idea he had lung cancer, didn't have any idea he was sick, didn't have any idea because he doesn't smoke, he isn't involved in any risky behavior, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And so we'll get into the details of that article and that case in a little bit, but I just want to use that to encourage people that they should be paying attention to staying healthy, because staying healthy is better than getting sick and then having to recover. The topic that we're going to ask Dr. Tom about today is lung cancer. And before we assume that we know what lung cancer is, because I always thought it was from people smoking cigarettes, let's ask Dr. Tom, what can you tell us about lung cancer?
So quite a bit. So I spent some time preparing an outline because the data that is out there from, let's say, the World Health Organization versus the American Cancer Society, there's different perspectives that are shared. And so there's some things globally and there's versus some things, let's say, within the United States. And since we do have people that are international that listen to us, I want to make sure I kind of shared like both sets of information. So a couple things I'll say relative to the United States. There's about 200,000 deaths per year, or I should say cases per year, that mostly will lead to deaths of lung cancer in the United States. In most cases, the overwhelming thing that could have been done is if people had routine examinations and evaluations by a medical professional they probably could have had that lung cancer detected at a very early stage and then be treated successfully. Unfortunately, lung cancer is one of those cancers that you don't even know you have it until it's too late. And there's many famous doctors that have gone on record of saying, by the time we see blood in your lungs, or I'm sorry, if you're coughing up blood, it's too late. There's nothing we've been able to figure out to help you. So the main point right now is you got to be seeing a doctor on some regular basis to get competent examinations and evaluations. Now, what I'd like to do is contrast that by what we hear from people all the time that come into our center. What we hear over and over again is something like this. Well, I was always healthy, and then next thing I know, I had stage 4 cancer. And that's a general statement we hear for all cancers. But what they're not realizing is that cancer doesn't just happen overnight. In some cases, some of these cancers are very slow growing, so it may take decades for them to actually get to stage 4. So that means from 20 to 40 years, this cancer was growing in their body and they never knew it. So they're simply saying they were healthy because they never went to a doctor, when the reality was that they weren't healthy and they didn't know about it, so they assumed they were healthy. So if I could have like one take-home message that hopefully resonates, for this podcast and every podcast that we do, is take action quickly and soon. Don't wait. The common mistake people make is they just wait too long. Now we can get into some of the details about the different forms of lung cancer and stuff later on, but it's a very serious type of cancer because if you were to look at it as by itself, lung cancer is probably the #1 cause of cancer-related deaths for all people. If you were to break it down to like men versus women, prostate cancer still causes more deaths in men than lung cancer, and breast cancer causes more deaths in women than lung cancer. But when you add up the deaths from men and women, then lung cancer surpasses, prostate and breast. So it's a serious cancer because if everyone took action sooner, we could very quickly eliminate that as the #1 cause of cancer-related deaths.
I'm taking a look at some of these statistics that you mentioned, and 200,000 cases in the United States alone seems just completely out of bounds. You mentioned that lung cancer specifically is treatable, and people sort of go from I was fit as a fiddle to now I'm in stage 4 of any cancer. Where along that road would you recommend people start taking a little bit more of an interest in getting tested or getting labs or seeing a physician and sort of getting the jump on anything that potentially could go wrong in their health, especially lung cancer?
Yeah, so if you're getting, a yearly physical, a doctor is going to check your heart and lungs, right? They're going to hear things and see things that you may not be aware of that are going on. And one of the things to maybe consider at the very beginning, let's say you have lung cancer right now. At the very beginning, the minor changes or symptoms that occur, they're not serious enough for you to take action. It's kind of like, oh, I just coughed a little bit. Well, I've coughed before and I got over it. So coughing isn't life-threatening per se. But then before you didn't have cancer, right? Before maybe you had a little inflammation in the airways and time allowed that to clear up, or you saw a doctor and got it treated. But now the second time or third time around, you're coughing, and that could be a sign it's something more serious than just inflammation in your airways. And so, normally would say get routine physical examinations, and then the medical team or group or the doctors that you're seeing, they should be doing an assessment that looks at your heart and your lungs, looking at your vision and your ears and hearing, like the basic things that sometimes we forget we still need, even because they're so basic. We don't think they're important sometimes because with all the technologies now, everybody's looking at the latest gadgets and they forget, well, if I can't see as well as I used to and if I can't hear as well as I used to, how do I know it's really aging versus something else is going on in my body that could be fixed?
We're talking with Dr. Tom. Dr. Thomas Incledon is the founder and CEO of Cosenta Wellness and the Cosenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is Ask Dr. Tom, and the subject today is lung cancer. Now, we've had an episode about pretty much every other area or common area of cancer that plagues, unfortunately, Americans, Canadians, Europeans, people from all over the globe. If you'd like to get access to other versions and other episodes of the Ask Dr. Tom podcast, or you want to submit questions, just text the word health to 72000 from your mobile phone. That's the word health to the number 72000 if you're in the U.S. or Canada. If you're outside the U.S. and Canada, internationally, you can text the word health to +1 315 930 0300. Now, I mentioned, Dr. Tom, when I introduced the topic here of lung cancer and said that we were going to be talking about that today, I mentioned this real heartbreaking story that I saw in the headlines, and it was shared to us by Lucy on your team, and it's the story of a newlywed bride. She's left devastated. Her groom is only 31, and they're married for 4 days. They're into their honeymoon, and bam, out of nowhere, the guy passes away and dies of lung cancer. And I've glazed over the article enough to see that, he wasn't a smoker, and I've heard this before. I'm not a smoker. I don't do these, I don't work in a nightclub. I don't work in a cigar lounge. I'm not in a bar where there's lots of smoke. How in the world could I be at risk of lung cancer? And yet I even remember in the Andy Kaufman movie, the whole theme of the movie was the guy had lung cancer and he didn't smoke cigarettes. So do people that don't smoke, should they be concerned, or should they even be thinking about lung cancer?
Yes, they should. So you can get lung cancer without smoking. One of the areas that's becoming increasingly a concern is that people that smoke, when they breathe out the air from their lungs, which still has some cigarette smoke residue in it, it gets into the air around them, and then other people nearby could be breathing in that secondhand smoke, and that secondhand smoke can be damaging to the lungs of the person that brought it in. There's also things like if you have a family history, maybe that if multiple people in the generations before you had lung cancer, it may be a sign that, genetically speaking, that your lungs are susceptible to DNA damage, which can lead to cancer. And we know that there's environmental chemicals that we get exposed to stuff all the time without our knowledge. And so there could be damage that's being created that we don't even know about, that's independent of cigarette smoke in the environment. The number one risk factor, of course, is probably cigarettes, so smoking directly. But there's a lot of other things that can contribute to that, which kind of ties into, well, how do I prevent that type of thing? And gets back to eating, a diet filled with a lot of colorful fruits and vegetables, because there's protective chemicals in those foods that can negate the negative consequences of a lot of the other stuff that we don't even know about.
We're talking with Dr. Tom. Dr. Thomas Incledon is the founder and CEO of Cosenta Wellness and the Cosenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona, where he's with us live now. We're taping Ask Dr. Tom for future podcasts and posts. One of the things that I hear you saying over and over again, and you probably are going to have to say it more, you probably can't say it enough, is this concept of eating a wide variety of colorful fruits and vegetables. Cosenta and Dr. Tom have put together an amazing, really just wonderfully helpful chart that can, and we got to come up with some sort of a snappy name for it, because it's really great. It's going to be available for download at cosenta.com. If you would like a copy of that to help you when you're making your shopping decisions, your cooking decisions, because let me tell you, this is always part of his answer to everything is you got to be doing this for your body. To access other podcasts, to get in on that list or get that download, submit a text, send a text message with the word health to 72000. If you're in the United States, just text the keyword health to 72000. And not only will we get you links of other shows, but when that PDF is available, you can download it and they'll send it to you and you can just look at it and go, okay, this is what I should buy. This is what I should eat. It's very, very helpful. We're talking about lung cancer with Dr. Tom. And you mentioned the differences in the cancer and lung cancer being maybe the most notorious. As you're saying that, I had images of my mind of men and women that work professionally in the trades where they're breathing things in, whether it's asbestos or just particles that are not good for you. What should those people be doing always, and how can they avoid disturbing the environment of their lungs and keeping themselves at no risk from lung cancer?
So if you're, let's say, someone that works in an environment where there's some type of airborne contaminants, or pollutants, if you will, and either a face shield or a face mask of some kind, depending on the type of work, there are even hoods where you're working with something and those chemicals are on the other side of a barrier, so it prevents you from breathing it in or being exposed to it. One of the things I'll share, though, and even another group would be, we work with a lot of people in, we'll say, different specialty services within the military. So whether they're SEALs or Black Ops or some other type of, Marine, Army, Navy, professional, and even guys that compete in sharpshooting and firing rifles. A lot of times we'll meet guys that have extremely high lead levels, and they're not considering that the bullets or the weapons they're firing, whether it's for target practice or something, there's an off charge or a discharge of like a vapor residue in the air, and they're breathing that stuff in, and you don't see it. And so it's not always so obvious. Now, definitely there's times where you'll see some smoke, and that would indicate there's something there, but normally you're not paying attention to those things. Plus, after you see it every day, there's an aspect for people that work in a certain environment every day where they get desensitized to it. So what I would talk to like welders, and they would say, yeah, when I started, I wore like a protective shield or face mask or something. But over the years, you just get used to it and you stop wearing it because maybe you get sweatier, or maybe it interferes with your vision or something, it itches your nose. So they kind of eliminate it for a practical matter, but they then increase the exposure of those pollutants in the air into their lungs. And, because it takes 10, 20, 30 years sometimes for that stuff to affect your health, it's not obviously, in front of you like, hey, this is bad. So what you kind of do is you go to work and you say, hey, I'm still fine. This is not affecting me. So it's not so glaringly obvious that this could be a damaging or threatening lifestyle decision, right? So the common, I guess what I would say is wear protective barriers that limit exposure to airborne pollutants. And those protective barriers, between the different standards from OSHA and all these other groups, there's lots of options that people have. They just have to take advantage of them and use them.
We're talking with Dr. Tom. Dr. Thomas Incledon is the founder and CEO of Causenta Wellness and the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center. This is Ask Dr. Tom, and the topic today is lung cancer. It is a killer that has creeped up on people that didn't even know they had a problem. One of the things that I've seen online and I've seen and heard you talk about are small cell and non-small cell lung cancers. What are the biggest differences? What does that mean, and what are the biggest differences between small cell and non-small cell lung cancers?
Sure. So the non-small cell lung cancers represent about 80 to 85% of cases of lung cancer. So the remaining, let's say 15% or give or take, would be the small cell lung cancers. So within the non-small cell lung cancers, you sort of have three different types. One is an adenocarcinoma. The other two, one is a squamous cell carcinoma, and the third is a large cell carcinoma. The significance of these terms is it helps oncologists understand the characteristics of that type of cancer and whether it's fast-growing or slow-growing, and how it may respond, how a specific type of cancer may respond to different therapies. Now, what I would say, though, is that the traditional classifications of lung cancers, that is what you see on, let's say, cancer.org from, I believe, the American Cancer Society. That's what you see on, like, the World Health Organization cancer statistics websites. And so those are legitimate sites for current facts and details. But one of the limitations with those sites is, while they're classically correct, they're not fitting for today's scientific understanding of cancer. So the classical definitions of cancer were based on geography. So if I have cancer in my lungs, it's a lung cancer. And if I have cancer, let's say, in my colon, it's colon cancer. And while those are technically correct, the problem is that has nothing to do with treatment responses and outcomes. What we know today, when I say today, this is more recent information as of 2017, is that we've kind of gone through a journey in our understanding of cancer. It used to be that if you had cancer in the lungs, okay, it's lung cancer, and you treat lung cancer this way. And at that point, there was no real database that kept track of all the outcomes. Well, now as we keep track of outcomes, we find that many people don't respond to treatments or therapies that are being provided for lung cancer. So now, as labs develop new technologies for looking at the genetic aspects, the genomic aspects, the epigenetic aspects, the proteomic aspects of cancer. These are fancy words for saying we're getting more details about cancer. That's all that really means. But as they uncover these findings, what they're showing is that the geography of the cancer is not always helpful for treating the cancer, meaning we need more information than just where the cancer is located in order to fight it and beat it. These newer methods now employ looking at proteins that are either inside or on the cell membrane of the cancer cells, and then matching that data or that information to different types of treatments. And what comes out of that is that now there may be better ways to fight cancer. The problem with that is the standard of care approaches for fighting cancer are based on older models of diagnosis. They don't incorporate all the newer data from liquid biopsy techniques and from all these new genetics and genomics capabilities with fighting cancer. So what I would share with everyone that listens to this is that if you have cancer and you're going to any center anywhere in the world, you want to ask them, how will you treat the cancer in my body? And then you listen to what they have to say. There should be an answer that explains how they would treat you as a unique individual, not as a label, not just as a lung cancer case. How are you going to treat, if it was me, it would be, how are we going to treat Thomas Incledon's lung cancer? And then after that question is answered, hopefully it's satisfying to you. The next question you want to ask them is, what will you do when that doesn't work? Because cancer is not a single, it's not a simple disease where you do one thing and magic happens. It's something where it's more like a chess match. You make a move, it makes a move. You make another move, it makes another move. Cancer has all kinds of defense mechanisms, so it's unlikely a single therapy will work. So you need to have multiple therapies employed at the same time. And so if the center you're at doesn't have answers for how they will treat your cancer and what will they do when it doesn't work, then you have to consider, is that the best place for you to go for treatment?
We're talking with Dr. Tom. Dr. Thomas Incledon is the founder and CEO of Causenta Wellness and the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center. And this is Ask Dr. Tom. You can subscribe and download the show at askdrtom.com. And today's topic is lung cancer. I want to ask you about the things to know once you're diagnosed. Before that, though, I'd like to talk a little bit about, have you really talk about the common symptoms of lung cancer that should not be overlooked, that might lead somebody to a diagnosis. So what are the most common symptoms of lung cancer that somebody might be experiencing and should get some attention?
So definitely coughing or wheezing, chest pain, weight loss, those are common things. You might see like if you're in your saliva, if there's blood in it. So, and this is specks of blood. I'm not talking about like it's all red everywhere type of thing. Because when it first starts, the symptoms are going to be very minimal. They're not glaringly obvious. So, I would say, first, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, many of those symptoms are so minimal that people may not even be aware of it. So here in Arizona, it's very dry. And so imagine I don't drink enough water today. Well, I'm going to be coughing because it's dry air. Now people here are used to coughing a lot because it's dry all the time. And they drink some water and a little while later, they're not coughing. So if you're used to coughing because of the environment you're in, and now you have cancer developing, you wouldn't realize there's cancer going on, right? Because you're used to coughing anyway. So the safety valve or the checkpoint is if you're getting routine examinations by a physician would then say, wait a minute, I'm hearing something in your lungs I don't like. Let's get a chest x-ray or let's do some follow-up testing to make sure everything's okay. Because it's better to be safe than sorry later on. And along those lines, one of the things that I was taught years ago by a very forward-thinking mentor. He wanted me to do something, and I thought it was very expensive for me to do. And he said, well, yeah, you're going to spend some more money, but what's the expense to you of staying trapped at the current level? And he gave me an analogy about oil in your car. So you say, hey, I want to save, 20 to 40 bucks. I'm not going to put oil in my car. Now the engine has a problem, and you got to spend thousands of dollars to fix it. You could have avoided that if you just spent your 20 to 40 bucks a month for your oil change, or however many miles, whatever it might be. But you could have done a routine oil change and prevented that problem. When we look at health, many people don't look at health as an investment. Health is the single best investment you could make because it adds years on the end of your life when you really want them, because that's when your grandkids are there and you want to spend time playing with them, but also increases the quality of your life at those end years. And the difference is, do you want to be the 80 to 100-year-old that's laying in a hospital bed waiting to die? Or do you want to be the 80 to 100-year-old that's still going to the gym and throwing a football to your great-grandson, or taking your granddaughter somewhere, to buy a puppy, or just like simple things that we kind of forget about, that there's nothing, I think it's fun to watch kids' eyes and expressions, as they see new things. And to be an older individual that could be around to see that, that's priceless. You can't put a dollar value on that. Yet how many people would say, well, I won't spend $100 because of the co-pays with a doctor. I won't spend $3,000 or for vitamin mineral testing or something. Like, this could save your life down the road.
It's funny, yes, we're talking with Dr. Thomas Incledon, the founder and CEO of Causenta Wellness and the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's interesting to get people's perspectives on their health or their expenses or the things that they will devote their time and attention to, and then the things they won't. Some of it seems just like an obvious no-brainer, but it's also like what we're brought up to, what we're brought up with, and what we get used to, and then what we accept. And so it sounds like when it comes to the most common symptoms of lung cancer that shouldn't be overlooked, they could be confusing because they sort of mask themselves as just everyday things.
Sure.
But like anything else, if it's an ongoing thing and if it's lingering, it's a pebble in your shoe. We should not do what most men for sure do, which is like, oh yeah, it's nothing. Oh yeah, it's nothing. And then ignore it for 10 years. So assuming that somebody has then gotten a diagnosis of lung cancer and They could be freaking out. They're in the information gathering stage, whatever it is. Once diagnosed, what are the three most important things for the patient to know, and maybe the family of the patient to know?
Well, so if we looked at data from the American Cancer Society, the data is glaringly obvious that the sooner you detect lung cancer, the greater the likelihood that you live. So if we were to look at, here's some stats on 5-year survival rates. So if cancer is detected, I'm just going to say stage 1. Technically, you would go stage 1A and 1B. But at stage 1, you have a 45 to 49% chance of still being alive in 5 years with non-small cell lung carcinoma. With stage 2, it's 30 to 31%, so it starts to go down, meaning more people are going to not make it. If it's stage 3, it drops to 5 to 14%, and at stage 4, it is 1%. So once you're diagnosed with lung cancer at stage 4, the likelihood of you being dead is 99% in 5 years. So what we take out of all this, the take-home message is early detection, early detection, early detection. Now that's the overall statement, but what I would add to that is take action. One of the big, mistakes I see people make is they get diagnosed with cancer and they're overwhelmed, and that's not a mistake on their part. This is just so many foreign words and languages coming at you. It's medical jargon that doesn't make sense, and it's who came up with this term, it doesn't always fit. And it's like learning a new language and you're pressured to learn it quickly. Well, now when you go on, most people will Google or they'll search on Bing they'll put in a cancer diagnosis to kind of get a better understanding. The next thing they do is they put in the name of the cancer and then the word treatment. And up comes all this misinformation about what to do. So they get further confused. And then when they go, what you'll see is major cancer centers right now will promote that they do all kinds of alternative and complementary medicine. But once you walk through their doors, they do standard of care medicine. And the problem is they never took the time to see if that's the best fit for you. And in their models in-house is that once you fail chemotherapy and radiation and so forth, then they may try something else. So what that means is you gotta be near death before they're gonna do something. Now let's look at the alternative medicine world. When you go there, guys are throwing vitamin C in you and all kinds of stuff, telling you it's gonna fight cancer, when they don't even know your vitamin C status. They don't even know if you need vitamin C. So that would be the equivalent of me saying, hey, put oil in your car when you don't even need oil. That would make no sense. And yet people have more logic for their car than they do for their own health. So they don't ask the right questions like, why are you putting this drug into my body? How do you know that will kill my cancer cells? Or why are you putting this vitamin C in my body? How do you know it's gonna kill my cancer cells? They just kind of go with the flow, and then they don't say, where's the results? Within a week, a month, 2 months, there should be something, blood tests showing there's improvements or scans showing there's improvements. We see people come in that after 2 years have had no scans and no testing of any kind. And I think that's a horrible experience for them. How could you go to any medical center and no one's monitoring you? So in terms of the three most important things to know is that you don't get a second chance with lung cancer. You have to take action quickly, and the best action is to do early detection, which is you see a doctor once a year, make sure to listen to your lungs and finding out if there's anything going on. And if they recommend a chest x-ray, you go get it done. And then once you find there is a problem, you don't wait. You don't take weeks to make a decision. You figure out right away where I need to go and what I need to do, because that increases the likelihood that you survive.
He's Dr. Tom, Dr. Thomas Incledon, the founder and CEO of Cosenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. To get access to our other podcast, Ask Dr. Tom, The Man Show, any episode, this episode, just text the word health to 72000. That's health to the number 72000 if you're in the United States or Canada. If you're abroad, anywhere internationally, you can text the word health to +1 315 930 0300. That's also the way that you can get on the text list, so you can get a copy of that guide to how to eat a broad variety of colorful fruits and vegetables. Easy for me to say. Colorful fruits and vegetables. It's a great tool, and you bring that up with regard to virtually every version of cancer and any question about health that we ever discuss, because obviously it makes sense and it's a great thing to do. I wonder, as we're talking, Dr. Tom, about lung cancer, is there any benefit? Does it make any sense for people to be doing breathing exercises or just exercises in general that increase their good breathing, like swimming and running and things like that? Does that aid in anything?
So that's an excellent question, because there's two ways I could address that. So first I'll address it from a circulation perspective. All movement is better than any non-movement, right? So if you sit on the couch, that's the fastest way to die. If you move more, it's the fastest way, it's an easier way to fight, the negative consequences of all cancers. Now, in terms of should you focus on breathing more or not, that's a little more complicated. And the reason why I say that is, if let's say the cancer has metastasized and damaged the lungs to a point where work could cause additional fibrosis or scarring, that may not be the best option initially. We may want to look at other forms of exercise. And what we could do, like for example, we can do an occlusion band. We could put a tourniquet on someone's arm and have them doing gripping exercises. Those gripping exercises just challenge them locally, but they increase all kinds of hormones and anabolic signals to stimulate clearing out of glucose and clearing out of cholesterol and getting rid of inflammation. And yet it doesn't involve more work on the lungs. Let's say now there was no damage to the lungs, then we use a lot of breathing exercises with our patients to improve brain function. So for people that have never had a neurological evaluation, the doctors at our clinic look at things that are their standard, like a neurologist knows this stuff in his or her sleep, but for everybody else in the world, it's not common stuff. And there's standard tools, like you stand with your feet together and your palms forward. They call it Romberg stance. And then they have one foot in front of the other. They call it staggered Romberg's position or stance. So typically neurologists would do that. And they're usually done for people with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or some sort of head injury, things like that. It's often not done for people with cancer. It's usually not done for anyone that's gone through chemotherapy. And the part about that that's a concern is that many times people have changes in their brain that are ignored because simply no one knew it happened. So just like you have problems with your lungs that you don't know about, so your lung cancer develops worse, but you don't feel it. People have gone through chemotherapy, or people that have different types of cancers, including lung cancer, it can affect higher regions of the brain, but they don't know about it, so it gets ignored. So we evaluate those areas, and then we actually may do breathing exercises because it helps reduce pain, it helps improve quality of motion, it helps people to reverse certain symptoms from chemotherapy, like neuropathies in their feet or in their hands. So it's a great way to help your brain connect to the rest of your body is through breathing exercises. But normally we would make sure there's no physical damage in the lungs that could be exacerbated before we would move into that direction.
We're talking with Dr. Tom. This is Ask Dr. Tom. You can download and subscribe to the Ask Dr. Tom show at askdrtom.com. Today's topic is lung cancer, and we've talked about how dangerous it is, especially when it's creeping up on people, like that story we read in the Daily Mail, which we'll get into in a little bit more detail coming up. Dr. Tom, why is lung cancer the #1 cause of cancer death? You mentioned it as it relates to breast cancer and prostate cancer, which in the sexes is #1, but collectively, this lung cancer is such a such a big killer. Why is that?
So I'm going to share some thoughts I have about that I don't know are necessarily scientific facts, but On a statistics side, like the stuff that we know it's true, we think it's such a leading cause of death because there's so many symptoms that are so below our detection threshold. Like by the time we feel something really serious and then say, hey, I better see a doctor, it's pretty far advanced. And so it's hard to know if there's something going on at stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3. And if something happens, it's maybe intermittent or sporadic, so you don't realize, hey, there's something really going on because it shows up and then it doesn't show up type of experience. But if we look at how lung cancer, like who gets lung cancer around the world, it tends to occur mostly in people that smoke tobacco and mostly in lower socioeconomic segments of the population. And my speculation is that I think that tobacco companies have targeted different regions around the world to say, hey, look here, cigarette smoking is cool and good and something, it gives a certain message where we know that the more times people see a message, then the more likely their brain recognizes that message as safe and okay and fact. And so then if you see everybody around you smoking, then it's more likely to be a cool thing that you do. The aspects about that though, and those lower socioeconomic levels, there's not access to quality health care. There's not like a hospital or a doctor's office nearby, so that if you're coughing, you can go see it. And typically it's societies where people are working so hard, they can't afford to take time off from work to go to a doctor, even if there was an office right there. So what winds up happening is that you get lots of people that have an issue, and for one reason or another, they're not able to pursue appropriate care or appropriate diagnosis. And so it's going to progress, and then it's going to get really bad. And then by the time they do get to a doctor that could help them, it's going to be too late. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's a #1 leading cause of cancer-related deaths around the world.
This is Ask Dr. Tom with Dr. Thomas Incledon, the founder and CEO of Causenta Wellness and the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. And today's episode is all about lung cancer, which is, it seems to be creeping up on people. This is not a fun story, but there was an article in the Daily Mail, and we'll put a link to this article in the comments on Facebook and underneath the post here. But it's an article about a newlywed couple, and they're not old. They're 31 years old. They're on their honeymoon, and the guy goes in for some sort of a pain or some sort of problem, and 4 days later he's dead from lung cancer. We live in this world of fake news and fake stories and salacious clicks and all that sort of stuff. Dr. Tom, is it possible for someone to die of lung cancer without even knowing that they had it? Is that even real?
Yes, absolutely. And I could tell you that even out independent of that news story, we see this all the time. We've had, I can't tell you how many times people are scheduled to come in for they're like, hey, something's wrong, and I want to come in and see you guys because no one else has been able to figure out what's going on inside of me. And they're like, oh, my schedule's busy, and let's say it's June. They're like, hey, but I'll schedule to visit you guys in September. So it's not really that far away. And then come close to September, we get a call from the family that the person that was coming in passed away. And they died suddenly and unexpectedly. And they wind up finding out that they had cancer or heart disease or something else that's, a threat to one's health or life. And they just didn't have, they either didn't have symptoms serious enough to register, in their mental radar, so to speak, or maybe they did and ignored it. One of the things I see a lot of times, I see a lot of, stereotypical families where, the mother and father are working so hard so they can afford to pay for their kids, doing sports in school and other, let's say, extra scholastic activities, or even paying for their children to go to private schools or something like that. And because they're working so hard, when they have a problem, they just dismiss it as, well, I'm overworked, I'm stressed out, whether it's to pay bills or do other things. And they're not looking at it that this could be a sign something, serious is going on. And of course, if you wait too long with anything, it just gets worse. It doesn't get better. So the short answer is absolutely yes. It's possible to have something that advanced with lung cancer and then, not know about it till it's too late. But the other thing too is, in this particular case, an individual, getting ready to get married, you're kind of forward thinking. You're thinking about your life ahead. You're thinking about, spending time with your loved one. You're not necessarily thinking about, hey, my chest hurts, or hey, I'm coughing. It's a different sort of mindset in that phase of your life.
This is the Ask Dr. Tom show, AskDrTom.com. And to get this episode or other future past episodes of Ask Dr. Tom, you can, or to sign up for the chart to help you pick the right varied colored fruits and vegetables, which is very helpful in maintaining positive health moving forward and keeping you healthy so that your body fights off all of these things. You can get access to these other podcasts and this information by texting the word health to 72000. And if you're in the United States or Canada, that's text the word health to 72000. If you're outside the U.S. and Canada, you can text the word health to +1 315 930 0300. We were talking a little bit off the air before this about some of in relation to this story about this poor couple and this man that died of lung cancer out of the blue on his honeymoon. And Dr. Tom, you started to discover that there are many others that we don't necessarily think of that have passed away from lung cancer. And certainly when they're in the public eye, it's abrupt to the public because we may not know about a struggle. But you stumbled upon quite a few people, big names, in fact, that have had lung cancer issues.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think was a challenge for me is that when we talk about lung cancer with patients, a lot of them seem to not be aware of how, it's a pretty big disease. Like just on its own, forget about cancer, it's a lot of deaths around the world. And so sometimes in order to kind of share with, let's say, people at large, this has affected celebrities and people we've seen on TV and stuff over the years. It's not like a recent thing. So what I did is I did some digging up of different people that have died from lung cancer because I wanted to kind of increase awareness that this is something that's been going on for a long time, and it seems like the rates are they're increasing. And so I'll give you just some short list, and I don't mean this to be all-inclusive or anything, but Peter Jennings, he was the ABC News anchor, and if you asked me the last time I saw him on TV, I probably would have told you last year, right? Because in my mind, I just remember seeing that guy every night on TV. And then as I was reading this and double checking some things, he passed away from lung cancer in 2005. So that's like a 13-year span that's gone by. And it just is what's amazing to me is how quickly time is flying by and how many people. So just some other names, Dana Reeve, that was the wife of Christopher Reeve. And then Walt Disney, who everybody knows from Disneyland, Disney World. Paul Newman. That's what, Walt Disney?
Walt Disney. I mean, and he was only 65.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Paul Newman, There's Claude Monet, the famous artist Monet. And that was, I believe, in the 1800s, right? So that was, so this is not like only recently people that we know are dying of lung cancer. George Harrison, one of the Beatles. And there's, you mentioned earlier, the Taxi actor, Andy Kaufman. Yeah. So there's, I'm sure there's lots of other people, and I don't mean to do anyone any disservice by not mentioning their name, but what I'm hoping this will do is increase awareness that, even famous people don't know they have lung cancer, right? Until it's too late. So, and they have access to a lot of resources, more resources that many of us have access to. So it kind of puts a little bit of a burden of responsibility and hopefully some accountability to every human being to be responsible and accountable to themselves that, hey, if you got a family, make sure you're getting a checkup so that you could be alive to be with your family in the future. Because if you're ignoring things or missing things, that it only allows bad stuff to get worse over time. It doesn't allow you to address the bad stuff.
Well, and you take a look at a guy like Walt Disney, for example. Paul Newman was 83 years old. Today, 83, especially if you're taking Dr. Tom's advice and you're eating the right things and taking care of yourself, you can live for another 10 years potentially and have another 10 good years from 83. But Walt Disney was only 65. Mm-hmm. I mean, think of what he did in those first 65 years. In fact, what he accomplished really probably didn't happen until like the last 30 or 20. That guy could have used an extra 10 or 20 or 30 years. And we could too. And all it takes is a little bit of early detection. I want to ask you about vaping and lung cancer. But before I do that, because that's a hot topic and we see these vape shops all over the place. This is Ask Dr. Tom with Dr. Thomas Incledon. And Dr. Tom is the founder and CEO of Causenta Wellness and the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. I would like you, Dr. Tom, just to share with people if they've gotten a diagnosis, if they have somebody in their family that's gotten a diagnosis, if they're not ill, but they just want to be healthier. What's the best way for people to investigate what you can help them with in their life, in their health, in their fight, in their ascension to be healthier with Causenta? What could they do right now with no risk just to get to know what you have going on there at this phenomenal facility?
So they can go to causenta.com. So that's CAUSENTA.com. And right on the homepage, you can sign up for free information. If you want to get a free consult with a doctor, you could just scroll down. I believe it's towards the bottom of the homepage. There's a little form. You just put in your name and I think your email and phone number, and you just say, hey, look, there's a drop-down menu with your interests. You just say, look, I want to know information about, alternative options for cancer treatment or men's health or women's health, whatever it might be, athletic performance. And then that email goes to people in our organization, or I should say that form generates an email that goes to people in the organization, and they'll reach out to get you scheduled, and then you get to talk to a real doctor. This is not someone that just got it through an online program. This is someone that actually was there in med school and learning things, who's very knowledgeable about all kinds of different methods. And he's going to share, here's some different ways to look at approaching what you have. And then if you feel like it's a good fit for you, you could schedule a consultation. And then during the consultation, we have think of it more of a team now that's involved that says, hey, look, here's what you had done, here's what you didn't have done, here's what's missing that could help you determine the right course of treatment and the types of treatment. Like, in other words, should you physically be on site, or hey, should you be at home? One of the things that people don't think about is a lot of treatments interfere with your ability to earn a living. And if you're the sole income earner, or if you're one of the income earners for your family, and all of a sudden the treatment interferes with your ability to go to work and earn a living to provide paying for rent for your house or mortgage payment or food or whatever it is, that may be a good fit, right? Because now you can't survive in order to do the treatment. So we have all kinds of programs they're flexible enough to help people regardless of their financial situation or whether they can afford to take time off from work or not.
And for our people that are not in Arizona, or people that are abroad, overseas, down under, wherever they are, wherever you are, it doesn't have to start with a trip to Causenta. Is that correct? I mean, a lot of this initially can be done virtually until or unless it's determined that they should come there. Not everybody has to come there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we can do a lot of stuff by telephone initially. We can arrange you to get tested locally. We have national accounts with labs, so you can go somewhere nearby usually. We can get a lot of it done by the telephone, and then just keep things rolling from there. For many people, it's a great fit so that they could save on some of the expenses for travel.
We're talking with Dr. Thomas Incledon, and he's the founder of Causenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. And today's topic is lung cancer. It's a pretty heavy topic, as you could see. I mean, when you look at Walt Disney and George Harrison, and then this poor newlywed that, boom, 4 days into his honeymoon, passes away from lung cancer and didn't even know it was coming, wasn't a smoker, didn't have a high-risk behavior that we know about. It's a dangerous, dangerous cancer. Dr. Tom, how does vaping and lung cancer correlate, if at all? I see vape shops on virtually every corner in every town. I mean, here in Chicago, there is one about every 3 miles. And I see people doing it in their cars, and I just wonder, I know that there are not the same things as in a cigarette, but is there anything to be concerned about if you or someone you love is vaping?
So there was a study that was done that showed that the elements or the components in a vaping smoke could cause DNA damage. And then from that, the scientists involved, the researchers said it could increase the likelihood of cancer or could result in damage that leads to cancer. And so then there was a lot of different websites promoting, hey, vaping might cause cancer. So if you take a look at the actual study design, the study was done in a way where there was a collection of cells. So these were animal and human cells. So they're outside the human body. And the chemicals were exposed to the cells in a concentrated fashion. And then DNA damage was discovered. The challenge with extrapolating that to humans, though, is that there's a lot of barriers, right? That we have a skin barrier, we have mucus and other substances in our lungs that can actually collect some of those chemicals. So whether or not in a human that type of can vaping cause cancer, it's not clear from that study. It's a lot of conceptual leaps that have to be taken to say that. So my answer right now is I don't see any hardcore evidence that vaping can cause cancer. But I would then say, though, why do people need to vape at all, independent of whether it causes cancer? Like the goal is to not smoke or put anything into your lungs, right? That's the goal. And so if you said, hey, I have this addiction to cigarette smoking or this bad habit or whatever you want to say, and I'm doing vaping as a transition tool, that's one option. But I would then say, you know what? There's all kinds of natural strategies. For some people, acupuncture helps them to quit smoking. And you're talking a few sessions and you're done. So then you're not even exposing yourself to vaping at all. And it may actually be cheaper in the long run. There's also all kinds of homeopathic preparations I've seen firsthand work with all kinds of people. They literally tell me, it was really crazy. I put a few drops under my tongue and I don't crave cigarettes at all. So I was never a smoker. I never desired to put anything, any type of cigarette or tobacco of any kind. So I don't know what it's like to, desire that type of stuff. But I know for some people it's a pretty strong desire. And so what I just would like them to know is there's lots of options to break that habit. So vaping is one, but there's got to be a game plan like, I'm going to vape for 2 weeks and be done with it. It can't just be I'm going to vape forever, because then you're really not changing the behavior. You're just substituting a different tool in place of what you were doing before.
Good stuff, good answers, and good information, of course. If you have a question for Dr. Tom that you'd like to submit, you can do that via text by texting the word health to 72000. That's anywhere in the United States and Canada with your cell phone. Standard text and message rates apply. Text the word health to 72000. If you're outside the United States, if you're international and you would like to text a question or get future episodes of Ask Dr. Tom or any of the Dr. Tom content, or the download for the foods that you should choose to broaden your diet, outside the United States, text the word health to +1 315 930-0300. And of course, you can subscribe to the show at AskDrTom.com. Thanks for taking the time to answer these questions, Dr. Tom. Is there anything that we missed or anything you'd like to add about lung cancer or cancer in general before we say goodbye to you for this episode?
Yes, thank you for asking. One of the things that I keep seeing over and over again is people find out they have some form of cancer diagnosis, and then they'll say something like, well, I don't feel anything. And they use that as a reason for not taking action right now. And you don't want to rush into something that you don't know is going to help you. But once you have a game plan like, hey, I have a way of fighting this terrible disease, what I'm seeing is people are waiting, and then what they do is they wait 2 weeks or 2 months, and all of a sudden they go, I can't walk, or I can't move, or I can't go to the bathroom, or hey, my cancer spread and it's now stage 4. And then they go, hey, I want to do something right away. And then I'm like, why did you wait 2 months? And what they always say is, well, I didn't feel anything. And they're like, but you never felt the cancer growing. So that tells you how you feel is not good enough to assess when to take action. So why not, so my advice I would tell everyone in the world is, once you know you have a diagnosis of cancer, find out a center, ideally a center that's closer to you, right? Because then you have the resources locally. But what lots of people are telling us is they don't have those resources near them that we offer at our center. So if you come here, we're going to tell you, here's how we're going to help you, and here's what we're going to do when it doesn't work, because we have backup plans and contingencies to help you. Let's get started immediately, because we know the sooner you start, the greater likelihood you live. The longer you wait, the greater likelihood you die. I mean, just look at the data we talked about earlier in this particular show, that at 5-year mark, for people that wait until it's stage 4, 99% are dead in 5 years. Whereas if at stage 1, 50% or so are alive, right? So where do you want to be? The stage 1 guy taking action or stage 4 guy taking action? And the problem is, what you don't see in that data is it's way more expensive to wait at stage 4 and take action. Even when you have insurance, people are showing us the EOBs, they have over $400,000 in bills because they waited to that point to then do something. And insurance does not cover everything. It has caps, has limitations on what it will cover. And it only covers things that are FDA approved. So if there's something you need that's not FDA approved, you're on your own. So rather than waiting until it's too late and then getting socked left and right by these expensive bills, I would say do it sooner and save yourself some money and increase the likelihood that you're going to live.
Well said. Well said by Dr. Tom. It couldn't be more simple. Do it now. Take action now. And you can do that at causenta.com if you have been diagnosed with anything, but especially one of these forms of cancers that we've talked about on the Ask Dr. Tom show. You definitely need somebody in your corner, and the team at Causenta is a good fit. Might be a good fit for you. The way to find out is to go to causenta.com, fill out the application, and set up a call. It's free. You have nothing to lose. You don't have to go to Arizona unless or until you all discuss that. In the meantime, if you'd like to get access to other podcasts or submit your questions for the next episode of Ask Dr. Tom, maybe there's something that you're dying to know, maybe a topic that we haven't covered yet, you can text the word health to 72000 in the United States and Canada. Standard text and data rates apply or may apply. Text the word health to 72000. If you're outside the U.S., international listeners can text the word health to +1 315 930 0300. And Jim, you can put it back on Dr. Tom so they can see him and he can give a wave goodbye. And until next time, this has been the Ask Dr. Tom Show. You can subscribe for iTunes, Stitcher, and any place podcasts are posted at askdrtom.com. Spell out the word doctor, and we'll see you next time, Dr. Tom. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Matt. So if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer and you're looking to get help, I strongly encourage you to go to causenta.com and fill out the form at the bottom of the page and find out for yourself how we can help you. You know, after working with a lot of athletes over the years and dealing with health issues and injuries and seeing how they approach their health, we learned a lot. Does it make sense that everyone is saying the same thing? Where's the unique approach? Where's the differences in how to look at a human being and suggest something different that might help them?
This is a very individualized, customized type of treatment. This is not going to be the same thing every day. This is not cookie cutter. This is not about having a plan in place before you ever get here, just based on your label.
When we're working with patients, it should be a patient-centered model. So the patient's best interests are at heart.
This is not a one-size-fits-all. This is, you come in, we measure all aspects that we can possibly measure, and then we customize and tailor it directly for you. And we're constantly looking at what is the latest, most efficacious or effective way of treating those disease states.
I love working for Causenta because I see myself as a cutting-edge physical therapist, and Causenta has all the world's greatest technology under one roof.
I've been told that there's nothing they can do, and ultimately they have exhausted their options. At that same time, within 24 hours, our staff, our doctors come together and come up with a plan for that same person.
To me, it's a very personal relationship, and I have been given the gift and the power and the wisdom to help them. And there's no better life than that.
And we look for elements in the people that we hire that will translate out to a better patient experience when they walk through the door.
So we don't really even see the patients as patients, they're family.
There is life, there is newness going on in Causenta that is forward-thinking, and I'm telling you what, this is probably the most exciting thing you'll ever see.
It's about facilitating an environment of learning, and it's learning for the patient, it's learning for the patient's body, it's learning for the patient's environment. This is more about being part of a system that's very much invested with each individual.
My name is Jennifer Grantham.
My name is David Schultz.
Hi, I'm Larry Hellman.
I'm Dr. Stephen Iacoboni.
My name is Dr. Matthew Zanis.
I'm Dr. Christy Anderson.
My name is Thomas Sinkledon, and I'm the Chief Scientific Officer. Welcome to Causenta. So if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer and you're looking to get help, I strongly encourage you to go to causenta.com and fill out the form at the bottom of the page and find out for yourself how we can help you.